Well, with the Rocky Mountains just next door, low taxes, a strong economy, relatively low cost of living, and an abundance of sunny days, it's no surprise that you might feel like making a move to Alberta. But where should you live? Now, if you want to be in or around a large city, then this video is for you. And if you are making that move, or if you've already made the move here to Alberta, hit that like button because I'd like to see how many of you are making that transition. Now, Calgary and Edmonton are our two major cities here in Alberta. Calgary is the largest city in the province with a population of around 1.4 million people, and Edmonton's just trailing behind at about 1.1 million people. So we're going to break our comparison down to a few different categories. One will be geography, two will be the cost of living, three is going to be the lifestyle and amenities, and four, we're going to go over the crime and safety of each city. So starting off with location and geography, size-wise, in terms of land, they're fairly similar. 820 square kilometers in Calgary versus Edmonton's 765 square kilometers. But being a lower population, Edmonton does have a lower density of people in the city with about an average of 1,300 people per square kilometer, and that's compared to Calgary's 1,600 people per square kilometer. Now, being about 3 hours north of Calgary, Edmonton is known for having slightly colder and longer winters than Calgary, and you don't get the Chinooks in Edmonton like we experience in Calgary. The Chinooks here can be a really good way to break up the winter and have some warmer days and melt the snow here and there throughout the winter months. Now, in Edmonton, that snow is typically just going to stick around all the way until spring. Now, Calgary is the windiest city, but it's also the sunniest large city in Canada, and even in the winter. In terms of sun though, Edmonton really isn't that far behind. Ultimately, it's just sunny days out here in Alberta about 92% of the time. Now, next up, we're going to look at the cost of living, which is definitely an important consideration if you're planning a move here. Now, ultimately, much of the day-to-day costs of living in the two cities, being in the same province, is very similar. Things like food costs, gas prices, utility costs, and things like that, they fluctuate, but isn't really enough of a difference to note here in the video between the two cities. Where we see the biggest difference in cost of living is in the housing markets between Calgary and Edmonton. Calgary has a much higher rental and housing prices compared to Edmonton. So looking at the rentals first in both cities, on average, a one bedroom in Calgary will cost about $1,800 per month, compared to about $1,200 in Edmonton. Now, a two bedroom in Calgary is going to be about $2,100 per month on average, whereas in Edmonton you can find one for average around $1,500. And lastly, if you're looking for a three bedroom rental in Calgary, you're going to be around $2,500 on average, compared to about $1,700 in Edmonton. So you can see that rental prices are definitely lower in Edmonton by about 30% or so. So now let's take a look at the sales market. So starting with detached single family homes, in Edmonton the benchmark price is currently $500,000 compared to $690,000 in Calgary. For semi-detached homes, Edmonton is at $383,000 compared to Calgary's $616,000. And for townhomes, Edmonton is at an average of $268,000, and in Calgary we're currently at $400,000. And lastly, for the apartments in Edmonton, they're right now at an average of $195,000 compared to Calgary's $305,000 for the average apartment. So now you can see, based on that, Calgary is quite a bit more expensive to purchase real estate compared to Edmonton, but those numbers are fairly general and don't exactly paint the entire picture. You just have to keep in mind that Calgary does have a lot more high luxury areas and homes, which will tend to skew that market up a bit compared to a city like Edmonton that doesn't have as much of that. But ultimately, facts are facts, and Calgary simply is more expensive than Edmonton to buy a home. Now, moving on, next we're going to look at lifestyle and amenities. Now, as far as amenities, both cities have all the retail and entertainment amenities you could need. We're going to go over some of the key differences between the two. Now, first up, as far as living in Calgary goes, the city is actually widely considered the cleanest large city in the world, and having been to some other cities around North America in recent years, I can definitely confirm that this is in fact the case. Now, Edmonton itself is also a pretty clean city, but it hasn't ever received as much recognition for that as Calgary has. And continuing on with Calgary, it is the closest to the Rocky Mountains, which means there are plenty of homes here with beautiful mountain views right out the windows of your home. And when you can see the mountains that close, it means that you're only going to be about a 45-minute drive to those mountains from the west side of the city. And that's compared to Edmonton, where you're going to be more like 4 hours from Banff National Park or other places in the mountains like that. So whether you like hiking, fishing, skiing, or any other activities that you can do in the Rocky Mountains, for the outdoorsy type, Calgary might be the perfect place to call home. And of course, we can't discount the perks of living in a city with one of Canada's primary international airports. Now this means that there are more flights from the Calgary airport that you will not need to connect at another airport to get to where you're going. I mean, who doesn't like a direct flight? So to give you some quick numbers around this, the Calgary airport flies to 25 cities outside of Canada and the US with direct non-stop flights, and that's compared to Edmonton's airport, which flies to just 11 cities direct outside of Canada or the US. So this can make a big difference if you find yourself traveling internationally quite a lot. And now we're going to move on to some of the perks for Edmonton. So Edmonton prides itself on its cultural diversity, with a lot of festivals throughout the year geared towards different cultures, including the Edmonton Heritage Festival, which is labeled the world's largest celebration of multiculturalism. And in addition to that festival, there are countless others throughout the year centered around music, food, literature, and other arts. This is the reason why Edmonton has acquired the name Canada's Festival City. With over 50 festivals in the city each year, there's going to be something for everyone here. And of course, Edmonton beats Calgary in terms of the major arena. With Rogers Place being a new entertainment stadium, it's better equipped to handle more shows and events, and you'll find that there are many big concerts that will go to Edmonton and not to Calgary, giving people from Edmonton more opportunities for high demand shows and events. And that's because the Saddle Dome that's in Calgary is now about 35 years old and just isn't very good for acoustics, so a lot of the big artists aren't going to want to come to Calgary when they can go to Rogers Place in Edmonton. But that being said, there are plans for a new arena in Calgary in the near future. And now moving on to our fourth comparison between the two cities, and we're going to look at crime for this one. Now unfortunately in this category we do have a clear winner and a loser in terms of crime. If we look at the Canadian Crime Index numbers, knowing that a higher number means more crime and a lower number means less crime, the Canadian average is at about 85. So that's going to be our benchmark here. So looking at these two cities next to the average, Calgary's actually a bit lower than average at 77.6, but Edmonton is higher than average at 110.7. Now that's the overall crime rate. So now let's look at violent crimes and property crimes separately. So for violent crimes against our Canadian average, which again is an 85 on the index, Canada ranks at a 79.7, which is slightly below average, but Edmonton now is all the way up to 126.7 for violent crimes. And now looking at property crime specifically, and for this one we have a couple charts to pull up from April of this year, 2023, and these charts show the property crime rate for every 1,000 residents. So you can see in the Edmonton region, Edmonton and surrounding areas are all around 2.5 to 4.5, but on the Calgary region chart you can see that Calgary is around 2.7, but all the other surrounding areas are all at 1 or lower. So this definitely shows that property crime is a bit more of an issue in the Edmonton area by about a factor of 2 or 3 times more than in the Calgary area. So if you're indecisive between Calgary and Edmonton, here's a quick summary to keep in mind. Calgary is known for its diverse economy and its proximity to the Rocky Mountains. It has a lower crime rate than Edmonton. However, Calgary's housing market is significantly more expensive than Edmonton's, making it less affordable both for buying and renting. Now Edmonton, on the other hand, offers a more affordable cost of living, and the city also has a thriving arts, culture, and festival scene. Now Edmonton's winters are a bit colder, but overall all Albertans are soaking up the sun much more than any other Canadian province. So which city is the right fit for you? Comment below. Only you can decide, but after watching this video, I hope you'll be one step closer to making that decision. Now, I am a licensed realtor in the province of Alberta, and if you plan to move here, please let me know. If you're moving to Calgary or one of the surrounding towns, myself or one of my team members would be more than happy to help. And if you do decide that Edmonton's the place for you, then I can connect you with a great agent up in that area. Either way, be sure to reach out and let me know. Ultimately, I'm sure that you're going to be happy no matter where you choose. Even with all the differences we pointed out, the cities are more similar than you might think. My name is Brad Walker with Real Broker, and we'll see you in the next video.